Thanks for checking out Inside the Huddle with Three Rivers FCA. Here are your hosts, Andrew Hofer and Thom Sigel.
Well, welcome to Inside the Huddle with Three Rivers FCA. I'm Thom Sigel. I'm a field ambassador here with Andrew Hofer, our area director, for another episode. And we're kind of have done this one other time where we kind of venture off a little bit from having a guest on and to catch up kind of with some topics. And this week, Andrew, I think we've been talking about it for a little bit, and the idea of coaching your kids, your sons or daughters. And I don't want to say it's a series, but we want to kind of kick it off this week and then go from there.
Yeah, we're going to dive into that topic. I know I'm more at the youth level right now with my kids being in sixth grade and second grade, and you've gone through it with your kids being through high school already, and so a variety of experiences and perspectives on that. And I think this would be good to hear from some of the other local coaches too about their experiences, because like we talked about a little bit off air, there's a lot of pros to coaching your children, and there's some cons, and it's some huge benefits and some challenges. So it's a different experience for everyone.
Yeah, it definitely is. And, those that will be listening to a couple episodes here that have had the opportunity to do that will probably relate, probably have different experiences. I know as I got into it, a couple different coaches I talked to, and they shared some perspective, but somebody gave me a book one time on it. What I realized kind of investigating that is, yes, every experience is different. Might be your kids' strengths or weaknesses, their personality, um, how good are the players around them in that grade level, how do they handle adversity, whatever the case may be. A lot of different experiences as we deal with that, and I went through some of the youth stuff too, so I might chime in on that a little bit too. I probably more convicted and embarrassed myself a little bit more at those levels than I did at the high school level.
Yeah, sometimes, and we'll talk about this. Is it's easy to lose perspective. I see that from a lot of parents in the crowd, and when you're coaching your children, it's the same thing. There, it's easy to lose perspective sometimes, and you got to keep the right thing. And so it's yeah, like we talked about, there's a lot of benefits to coaching your kids, but there are challenges, and there are things that are really hard.
Hmm. And I think that we'll probably get into a little bit how the coaching aspect means you take some heat, and people that had been your friends maybe weren't really your friends, you find out, or something, those type of
Yeah.
things. And it's tough on the kids. But I also think, like you said, that um, they're the positives as well. So before we kind of dive into that, I was going to kind of check in with you as well as people listening with some of the things that are all of a sudden right in front of us coming up. Some big events that you've really been, well, our staff has as well, but I know you were really spearheading a couple things coming up. If we could kind of maybe revisit those before we jump in.
Yeah, coming up on April 10th, we have the Three Rivers FCA Gala, and that's a huge night for us. It's a big celebration. It's going to be at the Waterfront Convention Center in Bettendorf, just across the bridge there, and it's a big night of celebration for us to celebrate how God's been moving over the last year and throughout this school year, and then we kind of get to preview where we're being called to serve in the next upcoming year, and how that's going to look. And so it's a little bit of a sneak peek for the people that are there. And then it's a huge night to raise resources and funds to be able to support the ministry. If you guys know anything about Fellowship of Christian Athletes, it's a ministry that's 100% supported by and fueled by our partners, and being able to go out into the schools, the communities, the teams that we serve is fueled by you guys. So we'd love to invite anyone to come. There's no cost to attend. Please do reach out to Thom or I if you have any questions, whether you'd like to attend as a couple or even host your own table. There's no cost to host a table if you want to bring a group of friends that night. It's tables of 8, but we'd love to see more people. We'd love to see a table represented from every community that we serve in, and it's a fun night.
Yeah. Um, I mean, there were some variations a little bit in the past, but last year was kind of the new format, and over 300 people, I think 325 or so were there. Speaker was excellent. Speakers, because we had some students and coaches give some testimony as well. Um, Actually, had great food. We heard that comment a lot. I thought
Yeah.
that was really good. And like you said, we're for a night out on us to be able to do that. And being the Vision Gala, there were things shared last year that now you can update. Hey, we wanted to try to accomplish this. This is where we're at. We got to this point, and I think that's great for people to see. And we did venture out and get some people from out, not just the Quad City area, but even if you speak on that, I know that there were people from Sterling Rock, the Sauk Valley area, I guess I should say, and where we're trying to expand to that, within an hour or so for a nice night out in the Quad Cities.
Yeah, our region's pretty big. I don't know, a lot of people don't know a ton about our region, but we definitely had representation last year from Knox County and Galesburg area and Bureau
Hmm.
County and the Sauk Valley with Whiteside and Lee County. And, we serve a lot of areas. There's 10 counties, 10 and a half really in our region, and trying to get representation there from every county because we see Guy moving in so many ways. We're serving in schools in all of those counties. There's a lot more work to be done, but there's been a lot of great things happening within the ministry in all of those areas over the last year.
Yeah.
So.
And I think we talked briefly about these events at the end of the last episode, but wanted to kind of start off and kind of give a little more background on those. And like Andrew said, our emails are throughout the video here as an opportunity, but also the website. I think they're both listed under the events
Yep.
tab at the top, but the other one was the golf outing on June 1st at Oakwood Country Club that is named after our former colleague, unfortunately passed away, Dave Anderson. Three Rivers FCA golf outing is something that we've seen grow, and is just is an enjoyable time, and opportunities to sponsor if you can't play or to play in it. It's a fun time. So a couple of those things coming up that we wanted to start off with.
Yeah, no, the golf outing's always fun. It's good to get out on the course with everyone and have some competition, some laughs, and just celebrate a good causes. All the funds raised from that go to supporting kids going to camp and scholarships. We have a lot of students in need, and
Yeah.
all that goes back into sending them to camp and giving them experiences that can be so impactful in their hearts and in their lives.
Yeah, definitely. So we appreciate you listening, and hope you'll consider and that those will work into your schedule. And just some things I know we have people working hard on to glorify God and what we're doing here with FCA. But so let's dive in to the. I'll try to stay away from the youth sports scene
No,
because
dive in.
that's about 3 other episodes if I get going on that. But you mentioned that you're in the midst now of coaching youth sports and the opportunity to not only coach but be close as dad. And I did that a little bit with basketball through the years when my boys were playing, but a lot of baseball was involved with that too at the youth level. And maybe my daughter lucked out that I didn't really know what was going on with volleyball because that was kind of her main sport. So she kind of got coach dad at home sometimes, but my knowledge was limited, so she didn't have to put up with me too much. So yeah, this will probably focus on the boys a lot more from my perspective. But where are you at with things now as you're diving into this?
So I think one of the things that people don't always realize is that within youth sports especially, and now you're seeing this trickle up to the junior high and high school level, is there are not a lot of people that are willing to coach. There's not a
Mm.
lot of people willing to put in the time, so, it seems like I see a lot of the same people coaching different levels because they get asked to volunteer for everything, so, I've had the opportunity to coach, my son and both my daughters in several different sports, and it's a huge blessing. It's got a lot of benefits. And at the same time, there are some challenges that go along with it. But there aren't a lot of people out are coaching in general, and so you see a lot of parents at the youth levels doing that, and that lessens as you get older and older, and into the higher school levels. But it's again, it's been a blessing for me to be a part of, but it's not always easy.
No, and we're kind of winging it a little bit on this episode, which I'm excited about. But something that came to mind there as you're talking is I remember at one time thinking it's a little bit different as varsity basketball coach. I mean, the boys kind of knew.
Yeah.
I mean, that was their goal, I guess, not to play for dad, but to play for the varsity coach who just happened to be dad. But um, those situations where, like you said, dads are coaching a lot, they're coaching multiple things. Um, does your son or daughter, is it a good experience for them? Do they want you to coach um, their team? And that's obviously going to be based on a couple different factors. One is how you treat them, and the other one is the outside influences of jealousies and those type of things and what they have to put up with. But uh, I guess going into it, most kids, their parent, I shouldn't say dad, but if their parent is coaching their team, it starts out as a good thing, I would think. More time, well, they're at work all day or I'm at school and now we get to go to practice and hang out and those type of things. And so, um, does that mean it's up on us from our standpoint not to ruin it?
So I think one of the challenges is to keep the main things the main thing for not just your children but for all of them. So
Mhm,
whether it's been in youth sports or at the varsity level, some of the things and goals that I've had, like you always want to be competitive, right? Like everyone wants to win. We all do. It's not always going to happen, but you want to be competitive. To me, it's like, okay, sports were invented for fun, right? That was why they were invented. That's why they're there, for people to
mhm,
go out and to have that community and to have fun. So you want your kids, whether it's yours or someone else's, you want them to have fun. You want them to have a good experience. And I always have wanted them to want to keep playing. And
mhm.
so, like, if you want to keep playing next year, more than likely you did something right as a coach. And when you have a kid who doesn't want to play, I always and probably this isn't always the case, but I definitely took it personally. Still do,
Mhm.
like, because you want to give them that experience that they want to keep going on, whether it's your kid or not.
Well, and I've always said that too, is even for whatever sport, but like on a baseball setting, maybe over the spring and summer you play 40 games and you have some weekends off and they wish that you had more games. Like, "Oh, we're done already. We have to be done. We want to play more."
Yeah,
That's a good thing.
yeah, and
As opposed
you want to
to that
see.
multiple times I hear somebody played every weekend and they went traveled here, traveled there. And I'm not bashing it, but if the kids are waiting for the season to be over and their experience is not good, or like you're saying, the way they're treated or whatever the case may be, that's not healthy. You want them to be hungry for the next year to come up.
Yeah, you don't want kids always seeking the next thing. You want them to want to keep doing the thing that you're doing.
Hmm.
And you wanna see kids develop to whether it's your own or not, you wanna see all kids move forward, and for some of them, it might, like, you might go from being a really bad player to just being a bad player. And for some of them, you might go from being good to being really good. But you wanna see all kids take a step forward in their development too when you're coaching. And so all of those things that I mentioned, those have been consistent across the board, from level to level, from athlete to athlete, whether it was my own or not.
Hmm. Well, and so we talked about pros and cons, and I think the positive thing is, yes, those experiences that you get to share together. And that relates to, for me personally, from youth sports to the varsity level, the things that we got to experience together. Um, Cons, I guess,
Well,
that
let me add to that pro first, real quick,
okay,
because
yeah,
you,
definitely.
you talked about the time you guys got to spend together. Think about how much time, even at the youth level, and that obviously increases as you get older, how much time you spend at practice and at games and all the other things that come with being a part of a team. There's a pretty high amount of time associated with that. And when you're able to coach your kids, that's extra time that you get to be around them, that you
Mhm,
get to be involved in their lives. And I think that's probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest benefit. Because, I think for both of us and for a lot of kids, they're going to play the sport not because we're coaching it. They're going to play it because they like the sport, they like competition, they want to play with their friends, and they want to be a part of something. And so when we're coaching our children, we have the opportunity to not fully experience it, but to walk alongside them as they're going through this experience. And we say in the FCA world, a lot of times, coaches have such a big influence because they're around their children, they're around the kids that they're coaching more than the parents are,
mhm.
just based on the amount of hours in a day and how much time you practice and all that. And so by coaching your children, you get to spend intentionally that extra time with them. And now it's not the same as like, you're going out as a family or being at home. It's not that same time, but you're getting to be a part of their lives and seeing it up close and personal.
Yeah, and like you said, there are a number of experiences that parents and children spend that are special moments growing up. Like you said, going out to eat, spending time as a family, maybe it's vacations, and sports gives you another opportunity, Um,
Yeah, and I mean, think about like, and there's nothing wrong with doing this because not everyone can or has the ability to coach, and that's okay. But if you drop your kid off at the door and practice starts at 5:30, like you don't see them for 2 hours later until 2 hours later, and like that was 2 hours extra time I got to spend in the gym or at the field with my kids.
mhm. Yeah, we found VHS tape not too long ago, a few weeks ago, maybe it's over the holidays. Um, and actually Dan Pearson did something. Trey, our oldest, must have been 3rd grade, and we had a team, and he came and did something and, interviewed Trey and me and all that stuff. So, even way back because, it was also me coming from varsity practice and then having a 6 o'clock practice with these little guys running around the gym. And it was interesting, brought back a lot of memories. It was pretty funny watching that. But, talking about, and he had a lot of positive things to say about, it's nice that when, he's busy with his team, but he could, we get to spend these times together. And actually, I then later coached 4th grade when Colton was coming through too. So did double duty for a little bit during winters back then.
And while it was tough in the time, I bet you don't regret that at all.
Yeah, not at all. It just time away from home a little bit.
Yeah,
So
and
Alicia would have to say whether that was a good thing or a bad thing.
we'll have to get her perspective sometime on this.
Yeah.
So, so what about some of the things that are hard with coaching your children? Because I think there are other positives to coaching your kids, but being around them a lot, being able to see when the light bulb turns on in their own skills or abilities, or that those are huge pluses. But there are so many moments that are just difficult to or challenges, and they're all able to be navigated, but there's still challenges that come with doing this.
Hmm. Definitely. Um, I guess 3 things come to mind, and I'll kind of break it into two two things, or time frames. The youth experience I had and the high school experience. But, to start off with, I think the one, I don't want to say it's a con, because I would think that even my input with Haley, that they all felt like the high standards and the demanding attitude for the little things and attention to detail and character and attitude and hard work and those things have helped them in the long run. But the situations where everybody always says, like, you coach your kid harder than you coach everybody else, and whether that's just being the standard you have for them, or at times, more so probably with me at the high school level for the boys, proving a point. Like, no, he's not getting away. I'm just going to be tougher on them for the perception of not playing favorites. So that's one thing, is
It's
coaching them
it's
harder.
absolutely true though. Like you coach your children harder. Things that don't seem as noticeable to others are very easily noticed when it's your child doing it.
Hmm.
At least that's been my perspective. Like, and it could be, and I'm talking about just from an action standpoint, not necessarily disciplinary, but like an action while you're doing the coaching.
Yeah. Um, and so I think that was one thing that was tough. I remember one example where, it was Trey, getting into stories here a little bit, but he rounded first base on a hit to like right center, and not old enough to hit it very far. It was like 10 years old or something. And first base coach sends him, and he's out by like 20 feet. And he comes to the dugout, and I'm not mad at him at all. And I'm just explaining that, hey, I know coach sent you, but the play is right in front of you. Maybe you see that the guy comes up with it cleanly. You don't have to go, and you worry about it later, if he's still mad at you. But it was so evident. And even the coach said, yeah, I don't know what I was doing. I thought he could make it. And as I'm talking to him, another volunteer coach, another dad comes up and is, "Oh, that's all right, Trey. That's all right." And I said, "No, it's not. Really, I'm trying to teach him." But after the fact, I think he was probably thinking that he's seen me get on him and was almost trying to come over and help him out a little bit. And I thought, well, okay, then maybe there's a little bit of a perception that when Trey screws up, Thom yells at him, type of a thing. And I wasn't. I was just like, no, it's a teachable moment, and that's all I'm doing. So
Yeah, and it's hard.
I know I was guilty of it.
It's hard because I mean, you love your kids, you care about them. There's no matter what you do, there's gonna be some biasness in your heart because these are the kids you're raising, and so it's hard not to want the best for your children. And
Hmm.
when you want the best, you demand the best, and,
Hmm.
and so sometimes I guilty, like sometimes we do act irrationally. And I think our kids take what we say in a different manner than they take from other coaches. So if like something that I would say to my daughter or my son, they would see that as a like very critical critique of them
Hmm.
and might even maybe even lash back in a negative way or take it in a negative way. Whereas if a different coach said it, they nod their head, yes sir, yes ma'am, and move on.
Yeah.
So it's different.
Well, I kind of came by it honestly because my dad coached Little League, had me and my brother. And my brother had to run laps for his own doing sometimes. Um, but there were a lot of times that I would have to run for making a mistake because my dad was mad at somebody else over something, but he, kind of took it out on me. So I kind of came by that honestly a little bit, with our kids. The other big, it's not a con of coaching your own kid. It's probably a personal flaw, but I'm going to kind of bring it up because, like you said, whether maybe it's parents in the stands or whatever the case may be with youth sports, but being guilty of it is getting sucked into, results based treatment. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah.
And if you didn't play well, um, it's not like I thought less of them, but I carried that performance over, or those type of things. And so you can do that as a parent, but when you're the parent coach, and you are that much closer to that situation where you lose a game, and especially if your son or daughter doesn't play well, um, reacting to that as a coach because you're closer to it. And does that impact them that they think that that's, what you think of them
right?
as a person because of their performance?
And then they have to ride in the car on the way home with you or on the
Exactly.
bus for the way home with you. Yeah, yeah, I mean, you're right on that, and so I think we lose perspective too, because like, how many kids are gonna go and play professional sports? It's like less than 0.5%. It's only like
Hmm.
1% that are gonna go play at the college level, and so, like, we've gotta keep our perspective. Like, we're not raising kids to be a professional athlete. Like, how are we raising our kids? Like, and I've told my kids, like, it's so much more important to me that you grow up being a young man or a young lady that's a believer in Christ that's gonna go out and be a light wherever you go than it is for you to, score 30 points or to score the game-winning touchdown or the game-winning spike in volleyball. Like, it's
In
so
front of 50 people on a
right,
Sunday morning
right, because
or
like,
something.
ultimately, like, and you could say it's just the youth level, but even at the high school level, ultimately, the vast majority of their experience at the high school level and very few to none at the youth level are gonna have any impact on them going forward in their future. It doesn't
Hmm.
define them. It doesn't describe who they are. It doesn't make them this or that type of person. And so sports they're a thing. They're important in our society, but they're not the thing. And that's not a definement of them who they are as a person.
Right. And that, like I said, feel like maybe the coaching aspect you're a little closer, but that's for all parents, I
Yeah,
think.
and
That
how
kid,
how easy too. Like you talked about, if you had a rough night, like how easy is it when you get into the car? You're like, "Hey, why'd you make that pass?" or like, or
hmm
"Why'd you swing at that?" It's like that's really hard to keep your mouth shut when you're coach dad or coach mom.
right, definitely. Um, and so kind of that kind of segues into the high school experience that I had with the boys, because there were a couple times. It depended on the group, but I know that there got to be a point where Trey's group was really he had some friends on the team, and it was a close group, so I felt like I could say this. It'd be after a loss or something, and I would say something about, "Do you guys wanna go home with me tonight and spend the weekend like he has to?" And you could see them. They'd be like, "No." Like, just kind of a little reminder that everybody's walking in a different path here, and that it's not easy to do that, or for dad to be calling you downstairs to as I'm watching videotape, and having to get called out on some rewind it, like, "What were you thinking right here?" Everybody else at home that, whatever, but, that was tough. Obviously on the kids, and we're gonna talk to other coaches who've kinda gone through it at the high school level as well, here coming up in the future. But it's a little more public, those situations, and, I don't think that either of the boys would trade it, but obviously it's tough when you're hearing about it in school, and you're only getting this because your dad's the coach. Actually, my daughter did get it with volleyball. She's like, "My dad doesn't coach volleyball," but, there was always favoritism, talk out there. Um, the boys actually loved Trey got it in football, a couple games, getting the daddy's boy chant. At football games, but, it kinda motivated them, so that part was positive, but, um,
I think that's
it's
unavoidable. That type of like,
mhm,
we live in a very judgmental society, and when when things aren't going right for your team or for your child, or for whatever the situation is, like people look to lash out, find whatever excuse they want to, and I think for any good coach, no matter what the level is, when you're coaching your kid, you're cognizant of the perception that other people might have of what you're doing with your child.
mhm,
Um, Now, if you're not cognizant with it, you maybe shouldn't be coaching your child. Um, um, But like you think about it, like you do when you coach, you think about how it not only affects your child, how it affects the team, how is this going to look, and because you don't want anything to be seen as
Hmm.
favoritism, and
Well,
that matters.
yes. Um, I told it was actually one of Colton's good friends, and I'd known his dad because they'd played together for years and stuff. And I told him one time when they were going through some stuff, and even on social media, people like to, attack 17-year-old kids, I guess, or even younger on social media, which is a whole different sad topic. But
Sounds like another pod for another day.
yeah. um, but I told him, I was like, what I've really come to realize is that you were talking about it earlier, even. There we go. You were talking about it earlier that everybody wants their kids to succeed. And whether that be at whatever level, the parents in the stands, the grandparents sitting up there, everybody wants that. And I told him, I said, that's what I've found is tough because I know I have a job to do, but does everybody expect me to turn off being Trey's dad or Colton's dad during the game? I mean, ideally, everybody goes out there and plays well. We win by 20 and he plays well, or Colton or whoever. I mean, that would be ideal. But you just expect me to turn that off? I mean, and I kind of came to that realization. But there were times, I mean, one that comes up at Wheaton North. Would have been Trey's junior year. I think we had a really good year, 25-5, but he was playing terrible. We had bad matchups. We had another guy went in, he was doing a good job defensively, and it's like he didn't play at all in the fourth quarter and maybe not much in the second half. And the team won, and he understood it. But that was a time where bench my own kid. I mean, he would normally have been in those situations, or at least some. Um, then with Colton, we would have situations where I would take him out for certain shots. Well, some of the shots I would take anybody out that maybe he took, but there were shots he would take to be marginal. And I would tell him later, like, I've told you before that you can't do that because of the perception. So, like you said, it's there in the back of your mind. And I'm going to have to yank you out because you're the coach's kid, because the perception is going to be like, oh, he lets him shoot whatever shot he wants. And, I might put him back in, but there's that higher standard too that we started this
Yeah.
conversation with. And so those were difficult situations to how to balance that, because there are also times where, fortunately for the boys, having them on the court, I thought did help us win. And you gotta play them regardless of what you think the perception might be.
Yeah. And I always ask my kids 2 questions, and sometimes I need to ask myself these 2 questions, and the first one is, "Did you do your best?"
Hmm.
And so I don't ask, like, did how did you think you played? No, like, did you compete your hardest? Did you do as best you can? And then, this kinda stems from our FCA theme last year, is like, who did you give glory to when you played? And so I try to ask my kids that, and no matter what sport that they're doing, can you answer those questions in the right way? Can you say, "Yes, I did as best as I can. Yes, I gave God the glory in how I competed." If you can say those 2 answers, we're good. We're good. Like,
Hmm.
your perspective still might be like you still wanna win, you still wanna be competitive, and that's true, but if you did those, we're good. But it's, sometimes coaches, we need to ask ourselves the same thing. And, you talked about, do you turn off being dad? No, you're also the dad and coach to all those boys or girls that you might be
Hmm.
coaching too. And so, but it's tough because people will critique, they will criticize no matter what. You can handle it the perfect right way, and someone will still be upset.
Yeah, I I agree, and it'll be and that's where I think too, assistant coaches. I mean, we had a situation with youth baseball where we got to the point where hey, I'll kind of talk to your son and you talk to my son a little bit, because sometimes we might be a little hard on them, and maybe they didn't listen to us
Yep.
like they would somebody else. Had times where assistant coaches would be like, hey, you got to get whichever boy, get him out or whatever. But there were times too where I would say, need to make a change. And they're like, no, which I fill in the blank with your son. That's the best option. Like,
Yeah.
don't overthink it. You can't be, or just because people think you're biased against their kid, you shouldn't be biased against your kid. And they would be there to hold me accountable either way, whether they should play or not play. And I think that's a good source to have too, because left to our own emotions, you could get in trouble.
It's funny you say that. I've had that in multiple sports where we've got little side agreements with the assistant coaches that if we need to correct something, like, and we're talking about not like disciplinary, but like coach
Right.
something.
Yeah.
Please, they'll listen to you more than they'll listen to me. They got to listen to me 24 hours a day.
Mm-hmm. We had that been going into Trey's senior year. Logan Wynn coached with me at Rock Island. He had the 17. Well, he had multiple years, but that year was 17U Quad City Elite, and I was going to help him coach because I had helped him before. And Trey's like, really? You're going to get, after just coming off of 3 or 4 months of having me as a head coach? And I was just like, no, he wanted me to help. And most of the time we had a good group, but I would sit down at the end of the bench. I would, help, but I tried to just not coach him or talk to him.
Yeah.
I would coach the other guys. And like I said, Logan did a good job. So I would just sit down there, and when Ethan Happ or Nicholas Bear, Dylan Sortello, or CJ, these guys would come out of the game, I'd be at the end of the bench just chatting with them during the game. So I just tried to leave Trey alone and let Logan take him in the spring and the summer.
Yeah.
He had enough of me over the years.
So, well, this has been fun. It's a good topic. It's a hard topic because many coaches do get the chance to coach their children at some point. So at some point in their lives, and every situation is a little bit different. And I know that I'm looking forward to hearing from a couple different coaches in the next couple weeks and their perspectives. And again, it's a lot of fun. It's a blessing to be able to coach your children. There are hard parts to it, but it's a huge blessing.
It definitely is. And like I said, the memories that you make, they're not all good, but it is definitely part of strengthening the relationship.
Yeah, and you're making those memories together.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those athletic moments that aren't good, they were going to make anyways.
Yes.
And you're there with them, whether it's to get on them, give them a hug, be a part of whatever they need. Like, you're there walking alongside with them.
Mm-hmm. So I agree. I think that your perceptions, your experiences are different than mine. And as we move forward and get some other coaches on, it'll be fun to sit back. I had my chance to talk during this one, so I'll just have to sit back and make sure I listen and not start chiming in. But I'm sure that we may get into that though too, sharing those experiences,
Yeah.
and hashing out things. So looking forward to it. So hopefully you enjoyed listening, hearing some of what we had to say. And so, Andrew, I'll kind of let you share anything to close us up here.
Yeah, we just appreciate it if you guys would like or subscribe to the podcast, share it out when we release it on YouTube, and just try to keep the word out, and continuing to try to share different testimonies of different coaches and athletes and different topics that are involved in the sports and coaching world, and how we can handle those from a Christian perspective. So lots of things out there. We know that sports matter in our society, and how do we handle those? Like, what's appropriate in handling those situations? And so continuing to look forward to that series. And I know that we enjoyed this one. So thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Inside the Huddle with Three Rivers FCA.
Thanks for watching this episode of Inside the Huddle with Three Rivers FCA. If you have ideas for content or interview suggestions, just reach out to Thom or Andrew. Thanks again for checking out Inside the Huddle with Three Rivers FCA.